I'm Pop.
And I am Flix. We are Pop Flix. Hey everyone, welcome to our post view of Suicide Squad. I'm Flix.
And I am Pop. I like saying that.
And we just finished watching Suicide Squad. Let's talk about our thoughts on the movie. Pop, let's start with you.
Okay, so, I was thinking about it. I was sitting at a 3, right?
Mm-hmm. No, 3.5 is what you had before.
3.5, okay. Going to story, going to action, going to all this aspect, I have to move it down to a 1. Because there's just too much going on. And this David Ayer guy is one of those... there's just too much, especially the weird flashbacks, the weird...
Too much visual garbage is what you're saying.
A lot of visual garbage. Was there key things I liked? Like the Batman stuff? Yeah. The thing coming up here very soon. One thing I was like, oh, this is a redeeming quality of this movie.
Yeah.
And it was only like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Or less. So I'm definitely sitting at a 1. You?
Well, I mean, this movie didn't really endear itself to me any more or less than it really had before. This will be one of the few ones that I give it a little higher score than you. I'm going to stick with my 3. It's not what DC needed. Not that any of the movies they've really released are what they needed. It's really weird for me when these DC movies are trying so hard to be realistic in some way or another.
Yeah.
And then you add supernatural stuff to them. Like, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. They try to make Batman as realistic as possible. But they have Superman in the movie who, any mortal man, he's just going to crush. Then you got this movie where one of the key people is the Harley Quinn. What is she really going to do in a fight? Evidently get punched in the vagina, because that's what happened in the middle of that last fight. So I'm going to keep it at a 3. Why are there stars in the background of this?
I don't know.
This looks like a Star Wars end credit right now.
That makes me so sad, though, about Ben.
Yeah.
And my love for Ben. You know how much I love Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I would run away with him. So I'm sitting at a 1. A hard 1. The more I think about it, so...
Well, so the characters in the movie. We've talked about this before. You like Will Smith.
I love Will Smith.
You seem to like Jared Leto.
I do like Jared Leto, but I didn't get enough of him to really grasp on anything. Mm-hmm. That's why this movie's so weird, especially when you do those weird cutback scenes with him and Harley, and you do those weird aspects of he's in a room with a bunch of knives all exactly laid out the same and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So would you, compared to Batman vs. Superman, the unultimate cut, the original one, you think this is worse? Because I'm fairly certain you gave BVS either a 2 or a 2.5 out of 10 last time. But you're only giving this one a 1, despite the fact that as stupid as it is, at least the story in this one makes sense. It shows the government's hubris of thinking they can control these villains, and then Enchantress gets out and they have to stop her.
I don't know what movie you were watching, but...
The government thought that Amanda thought she could control them, and she couldn't. That is the lesson of this movie to her.
But they're still in jail.
It means that not every time you do a good thing you get,
But then she'll probably use them again. We're getting another one of these, right?
Sure, and that might be better because Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, was also a person that you really liked the character of in this movie. Oh yeah,
like I said, there's aspects of this I like, but you got a good point there. Okay. Also, I think I like BVS more, even though it's by a 1.5, right?
I feel like your that vote is more on Batman's in this thing, so it's got a better score. Where only Bruce Wayne's in this one, so it gets a worse score.
You know me, I have a very soft spot for Batman
and Ben Affleck.
And those two combined makes my world.
This movie has a lot of issues, and I don't think people are going to argue that. And I don't feel like this is a movie that'll ever fall into the cult classic genre.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I've been going on Twitter a lot recently and seeing people that are just like, Is Batman vs. Superman becoming a cult classic? Is Suicide Squad becoming a cult classic? And I'm like, there's no manner in which this is a classic.
No, there's...
This is like saying...
The term cult classic has definitely gone out the window, especially with people nowadays.
Yeah.
Clerks is a cult classic.
The Professional?
Because no one saw them when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
Then word of mouth. No, word of mouth happened.
I mean, nobody really saw this when it came out, so...
Yeah, well, just like Mallrats, going back to my Kevin Smith love. That movie bombed at the box office. It was savagely just... torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even mentioned, he goes, I get people around me like, I love Mallrats. And he's like, where were you when the movie came out?
No, but other movies, can fall into the cult classic genre, like The Professional with Jean Reno and Natalie Portman. There's plenty of other ones that they can fall into that. But first and foremost, in my opinion, I don't know if this is a genuine fact or not, you gotta wait more than 2.5 years to be a cult classic.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some time.
There's such things as instant classics, don't get me wrong. But for a movie just to fall under the premise of being a classic, unless it is an incredible movie, it takes a long time. And, just to be clear, another thing that I kind of view, there's two types of cult classics. There's cult classics which are underappreciated, and... they got a following well after they were in theaters. And there's other ones that are just such bad movies that you just have to see them. And that's why I consider them a cult classic. This doesn't fall under either of those.
Would Chopping Mall fall under cult classic?
I don't think there's enough people that have watched it to make it that.
Well,
from our perspective, it might have been a so bad it's good kind of movie.
Well, Evil Dead. I was just thinking about
the first one, yes.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Army of Darkness and stuff like that, that fell more under just campy, good, movies for the time though, but not Evil Dead was I would call that one a cult classic. But this is not these kind of movies do not fall under a premise that you would call, that's a cult classic.
Look at that.
15 years from now, maybe. I don't know.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, especially with... I will say this. As much as these movies come out, the polarizing aspect of the fandom is you either drink the Kool-Aid that DC's serving you and you're staying there no matter what, mm-hmm. because apparently as we go along, these movies get better and better as time goes. And for me, yes, I've been a little critical when we went back and watched Man of Steel and BVS and this and that, and I know I tend to fight for these movies because I want these movies to succeed. That's why I want those DCEU Kool-Aid drinkers understand I want this universe to succeed. But going back and seeing a Man of Steel and realizing the first time I saw it, I was in awe. I won't lie, I walked out of the theater whoa, that was crazy. But I didn't automatically be I need to go see that again. Because there was a lot to process in it. Just like a BVS. I walked out of BVS with that emotional high of No,
and it blinds you. For our Aquaman review, which you can watch on our Spotify.
You can't watch it.
You can listen to on the Annoying Prick podcast via Pops, evidently. That is Spotify, right?
Yes.
That you can listen to on Spotify.
You can listen anywhere, basically.
Yeah. But we go see the movie, and we immediately after we're done, we're talking about it. And truth be told, I'm not a super fan of those kind of situations because with good movies, you can be caught in the moment. With bad movies, you can be caught in the moment. And with bad movies, you can be caught in a good moment at the end, which is, movies are specifically designed to have their coolest stuff happen in the final climax. So, we're going to argue about this at some point in time. But, for me, at the end of Rogue One, when you get that Vader... when you get that Vader scene and you get him just tearing through the rebels in the hall and you had that really cool battle over Scarif. That, to me, is a movie trying to cover up a lot of bad things with some very visually good things at the end. And there's other movies that do the same thing. The Last Jedi is the same way, where you have that kick-ass fight at the end between all the Red Guards and Kylo Ren and Rey. And then you have that battle on the planet where they're fighting the walkers, and then Luke comes out and is a badass. Yes. I air quote that. But movies do that so that you're like, that's why it's called the climax of the movie, is because it's trying to get you off. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is why I always talk to the people I see with movies the next day to see.
But we still feel the same way about Aquaman.
Well, yeah, but that's just because Aquaman had really shitty soundtrack and a lot of very bad things, but the costume designing was amazing, and that's the key thing I pull away from it. There's a lot of scenes that are so visually garbage, like this one, you can't tell what's going on. And when you keep your 50% of your movie underwater, you'd think the underwater effects would be good, but it looks like Tron. Tron Legacy, not the original one. I won't go that far, but Tron Legacy. But we felt that way that night. And for all I know, honestly, we might have just talked ourselves into hating it more than we really would have. But they tried to impress us at the end of that movie with that final fight underwater with all the stuff going on. And Marvel does it just the same. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is exclusively a DC thing. But I'm saying to everybody out there, if you're watching a movie and you think you love that movie more than you've loved anything in your entire life, think about it. Give yourself time. Don't just leave that movie and go.
Well, that's why you're listening to us. You listen to two people converse about this.
But don't just go, this is the greatest movie ever. Like, we're gonna watch Infinity Wars. And I will tear down parts of Infinity War. Because I love that movie. But I know no movie is perfect.
Well, Back to the Future.
Not the first one.
Of course the first one.
No, not the first one.
Of course the first. No.
The best Back to the Future is the third one. Because if you can take time traveling and go to the Old West and make it awesome, you've won my respect.
I love that trilogy regardless, so. But the first one's pretty perfect.
Well, on that note, though, we're going to leave you guys tonight. So.
You son of a.
No, it's on the note that I, Flix, am right and Pops is wrong. So.
If you hear scuffling in the background.
But no, it's been as delightful as it can be to watch this movie with someone, watching it with you. And luckily enough, our next movie, as far as the DCEU, is one that's at least critically acclaimed, unlike the other ones.
Now, that one I'm excited for.
Well, we'll talk to you guys later.
And I'm Pop.
And I'm Flix. And cut.